welcome to Leading and Innovating F&B during a time of uncharted interruption. Before we get started, I'd like to share a little bit about our guest speaker. Chef Alonia Daniel is the founder of Tribe Fresh Events and Consulting, located on beautiful Prince Edward Island. Her focus, modern approaches to hospitality, immersive experiences, and community and culture development. With 15 years of experience with projects spanning the globe, including Europe, North America, Africa, Asia, she's known for her game-changing deliverables. Chef Alonia says that COVID-19 landscape is a moment of opportunity to forge innovative approaches to create extraordinary event experiences. Let's get the dialogue den started, Chef Alonia, and we're ready to let you share with us your insights on how we should be delivering F&B now and into the future. Chef, take it away.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me here today. I am very excited. We're back in a Bay Fortune. We're here upstairs in the loft, enjoying the beautiful scenic vistas of the eastern portion of Prince Edward Island. And we're so glad to be bringing that East Coast hospitality to everyone today. And as Perline said, we're going to talk about innovating and leading in F&B during a time of uncharted interruption. So let's get started. As we've been collectively experiencing the emotional and social impacts of living through a global pandemic, it's imperative that we take time to consider the gravity of this into our planning. Now, this doesn't mean that I want you to dwell on the negative. We see a lot of that in the news. Rather, it's a time for us to take a great opportunity to plan and incorporate some helpful practices into the itinerary. The most important resource, time. It's important. After so many of us had to impose self-lockdowns and isolation, it can be quite jarring to be around people. The energy required to interact and participate can require a lot of our energy reservoirs. Make sure you leave extra time between meetings and sessions. Don't be afraid to extend coffee breaks and lunch periods. Not only will this leave your guests feeling more at ease, knowing there isn't such a heavy time pressure, it will also factor in the time required for sufficient sanitation of the spaces. And also don't forget, it's going to take a little bit of extra time to distribute food and beverage. Additionally, as part of the programming, there are so many benefits to mindfulness sessions or as body breaks led by wellness professionals like we're enjoying today with Hal Johnson and Joanne McLeod. How much fun is that? We all need to be gentler with ourselves, and this is important so we can do this in a productive and meaningful way. So mindfulness benefits both our business and personal lives and helps us to process our thoughts and achieve moments of clarity in an increasingly busy world. Mindfulness teaches us how to be present in the moment. This in turn helps to lower stress, which is certainly a challenge faced by many professionals in our industry. Some factors to think about as well when planning is lighting, location, and hydration. And as you can see here, it is lovely and warmly lit. And whether you're planning in person, virtual, or hybrid, a gratitude wall can be an effective way to help your guests feel more connected. So what is a gratitude wall? This involves your whole conference. It can happen before the first morning session or at the end of the day. Practicing gratitude means taking note of something you're grateful for at any given moment. It means those moments don't pass unacknowledged, and it stimulates mindfulness. This note could relate to a person, an activity you're glad to be a part of, something you're grateful to have learned. In a conference setting, hopefully this might relate to the event, but it's important to make clear that small, everyday things count too. What made you laugh today? What was a delicious bite you enjoyed? Get your delegates to write their gratitudes on paper or to be dropped in a jar or tucked behind a name badge. Depending on the context and group size, you might also suggest that they're written on Post-its and then plastered on the wall. This makes it an amazing digital artifact that everyone can enjoy long after the event. Let's move on to food and beverage trends. A recent trend in nutrition and delicate well-being survey by the IACC showed that nutrition and well-being are high priorities for delegates, and food that sharpens mental clarity and improves concentration levels is growing in popularity. 38% of those venues surveyed are already offering brain food. Mindfulness taps into that burgeoning desire for well-being at events. As budgets continue to shrink and the cost of food continues to rise, it's easy to look at food service at events as something you have to do. But that rarely pays off. And that's because food and beverage at events isn't just about keeping people full, it's a part of the experience. And this holistic approach is yielding immeasurable benefits, and especially in this time of interruption. As we rethink the underlying principles of the food industry, such as safety and supply, other concepts such as transparency and visibility into product sourcing and manufacturing, it also comes into the spotlight. Consumers across the globe are likely to prioritize offerings that are healthy and locally sourced, even more so than before COVID-19. Let's look at regenerative agriculture. This is a practice about farming in a way that benefits the land or the environment in general. While event planners aren't plowing the fields, well, we might do that in PEI, they can sow the beginnings of planetary restoration by using some plant-based alternatives to meat and dairy at their F&B events. As Convene reported, the eco-positive benefits of replacing meat and milk-based food products with a plant-based menu seems to grow along with event size as more alternatives are being served. Some venues are already making sure that they're embedding those items in their menus. Zero proof drinks. Now, non-alcoholic beer has been around for decades, but more brands are tapping into what we're calling the sober curious movement with new products. Events too are making the effort to offer these prepackaged alcohol-free options, as well as mixing up some zero proof cocktails. We're moving past the Shirley Temple and we're looking at brilliant curated products. This trend, which showed up at the Summer Fancy Food Show in New York City, will continue to grow in popularity for the years to come. Probiotics and wellness. So products with ingredients perceived to be beneficial to one's health have steadily grown over the past several years. Due to current events, they are positioned to be a breakaway hit this year and into the next years to come. Consumers are concerned naturally about immune health and are shopping for products with a range of ingredients, including probiotics and various herbs and spices. Think about those turmeric lattes, love them. But with stress and anxiety high, ingredients that support sleep and mental wellness are also gaining rapid traction in the marketplace, including those formulated with ingredients being studied and promoted for their positive effects on sleep and mental health. We can all use a good night's sleep, right? Event planners, you will need to post a safety greeter at the door. Now, this is a separate role from your host. The safety greeter will be responsible for communicating the new experience to your guests, including any safety protocols. In addition to taking temperatures, if mandated, the greeter would collect the guest contact info in case any contact tracing is required. And we must always keep in mind, even virtual meetings are still social events. We have to have fun. That's so good. Do not overlook the social aspect. Remember that virtual meetings should fulfill two critical functions: circulating information and providing a space for professionals to network. This means that an online event still requires introductions, like Perlene did for me. Icebreakers and virtual water cooler coffee break sessions are awesome and a great way to share your community. Now, the big question, how will we eat? We know that planning and creating an experience is so much more than printing brochures, booking your speakers, and having good food, because people remember how a place made them feel long after they've landed back home. For us here in Prince Edward Island, it's how the hotel concierge greets them when they walk in the door. It's how that first taste of PEI lobster pops in their mouth. It's how the fresh ocean air helps them breathe just a little bit more deeply. It's how that comedian made them laugh harder than they have in a year. It's connecting with like-minded people and discovering new parts of themselves. Whether you visited Prince Edward Island every summer since you were 9, or have only seen photos on travel blogs, chances are you already know there's something magical about it, because there are very few places in the world that offer this unique blend of stunning seascapes, fishing villages, windswept fields, friendly people, and charming cities and historic landmarks. Located just off the east coast of Canada, our small island awakens the senses and acts as the perfect backdrop to bring people together to learn, connect, and explore. Prince Edward Island is one of the safest, affordable, and most welcoming destinations. When you convene in PEI for meetings and conventions, you'll be connected with the innovators who are shaping the future, the thought leaders who are leading the way, and the businesses and research architects who can elevate your next event across multiple industries. Research tells us meeting here makes delegates' engagements soar. Maybe it's the sound of the waves, right? Connecting our team is the first step to your best conference ever. And whether your meeting and planning brings you here to PEI or takes you elsewhere, buffets in the traditional way we know them will continue to fall by the wayside for the foreseeable future, but they'll not entirely disappear. Rather, they'll be reimagined like everything else we're doing. I believe we'll see buffets certainly convert to more small plate, single sessions, but this will also allow opportunity for food and beverage teams to innovate. Food service operators will need to reinvent the way a line buffet works and operate as, again, as I said, a chef serving station, which builds, again, that extra optics. And we'll have ready-made plates. And what about those old school cloches and plate covers? You know, what's old is new. And I think during COVID, we're going to see a huge comeback for that. And again, it's that optics of safe food that's covered. Hub dining. So what are we talking about? It's a collection of multiple restaurants, food concepts that are organized strategically to sell, distribute meals, pantry stables, produce, and even protective masks at designated pickup sites. Think of it as a food hall trend for the coronavirus era, a model built on working together while everyone tries to stay apart. As for other creative options, bento boxes will offer a fully curated meal for the guests that is both appetizing for the eyes and for the stomach. It'll also look great on Instagram. Past bites could be saved in a fun enclosed container. Think custom branded hamburger boxes or pizza boxes that you can put your own logos and branding from your event. Perhaps passing hors d'oeuvres on large boards such as a pizza peel might be implementable, or picture a surfboard with oysters. Love it. This is so you don't have to come face to face with someone, but you're still connecting. Drive-in experiences can also be extremely successful. Here on Prince Edward Island, we have reimagined our beloved drive-in movie theater into a concert and meeting space. And this has been so successful, we also have an additional drive-in being built right now. High-value production cooking classes and sensory experiences are important. While in 2020, Zoom has been accepted, in 2021, we're going to want a little bit more: higher quality connectivity, production value, and higher quality communication. One of the ways we can start thinking about it is like moving from a rough video we might shoot on our smartphone to something that we might want to be watching on Netflix or YouTube. If people are going to have to attend a meeting in whole or in part virtually, people want to be entertained through curated visuals. To meet the need for immersive experiences at conferences, we're starting to see applications like Remo begin to pop up. Remo is a virtual immersive space for events and remote work. It is a visual top-down view, 2D map comprised of interactive rooms. This app uses video, audio, and chat to allow people within the space to interact naturally in real time from anywhere in the world. So you can sit at a table like you would with your own colleagues at an event, and you can move from table to chat if you're a little bit of a social butterfly like me, or again, you can break off into sessions. As we know, people love to eat, and the culinary program portion of any meeting is ultra important. As you just enjoyed watching my fellow Prince Edward Island chef and colleague and friend, Chef Michael Smith, we can see how much fun and dynamic a culinary segment can be in a virtual or hybrid event. Next week, I'll be speaking at a national D2L conference where I'm going to be doing a culinary segment, much like Michael did. And I'll be using the application Menti to allow opportunities in real time for our guests to interact with my cooking. It's going to be like a build your own culinary adventure. Remember those books we read back in the 80s? It's going to be like that. And we'll be doing that at the Culinary Institute of Canada, where I'm so lucky to be able to teach. Our guests and clients want to feel like their needs and preferences are being met. Always take that in top of mind. So planners, organizers of large gatherings and events, and those lasting several days or a day, just remember, collaborate with your public health authorities, relevant ministries, Indigenous community structures, to consider impacts of gatherings and events on community healthcare and public health systems. In doing so, we should also consider the availability to those systems to manage any potential cases that may emerge as a result of us meeting. Now, these challenging times will not last forever. We will have so many adventures and so many incentivized trips to plan ahead of us. While we may be in a rush to return to normal, let us use this time preciously to think about how we can make things better, more dynamic, and more authentic to who we are personally, who we are as a community. And we have to ask ourselves, was normal really that perfect? We're going to find ways to evolve meaningfully together. We are strong when we support each other. And there's no more important time than now for all of us to do our part. We are innovators. We are so readily able to adapt to change. That is what makes our industry such a dynamic place for us to be. It keeps us on our toes. It's done it before, it's doing it now, and will do it in the future. We have all the skills we need, and I'm ready to meet that challenge with you. Thank you.
That's great, Chef. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
and if we do have any questions, you can pop them into the chat box, and Perlene will probably notify me about those if you do.
And feel free, folks joining us, to turn on your video now. And this is the part where we can all have a chit chat before we go back to the main stage. Any burning questions out there when it comes to F&B? I'm going to fire one off to you right now to get us going. Chef, tell me about something that you've created in the last 2 months that got you excited about the new opportunities that forced you to change your thinking because of COVID, and that you've served up to some guests.
Yes, we certainly have done some fun things. This summer, I started actually a cooking program that involves, I'm doing classes and demos and collaboration. But again, we're looking at a social distancing model. But it doesn't mean that we can't come together, right? We have to look at spaces where we can do things indoors, outdoors. And certainly this summer, I was able to do that. I did some cooking classes, almost in a community hall town lecture sort of style. And that was a lot of fun. And I'm not sure if Chef Michael talked about it, but how he pivoted his business with the outdoor picnics has been incredibly successful. Here on PEI, we've definitely we picked up our picnic baskets full of local stuff and headed out. And so that was a really great benefit. As we move into the winter, once again, I am looking at spaces where we can do community hall type classes. Though the numbers will be smaller, we're still going to be able to connect.
Great. And are you still going to be able to, when groups start coming next year, as we all await the rest of Canada beyond the Atlantic bubble, what are some of the new experiences that will be offered on Prince Edward Island in terms of cooking, like you mentioned, cooking classes and in town halls? That's something fairly new, I think. So what are some of the other things and tell me a little bit more about what you're doing at the drive-ins.
Yes, so this summer has been spectacular. On Prince Edward Island, heading to the drive-in is certainly part of the culture and community. But in the summer, I think if it's not the world's largest country music festival, it's certainly one of the biggest, the Cavendish Beach Music Festival. Obviously couldn't go on the way it was planned. So that drive-in movie theater turned into a beautiful space where we celebrated island talent and within the Atlantic bubble, all of those musicians. And people drove into their spots. The show was amazing, and people just kind of danced around and in their car, and that was great. And we also did that for our Pride Festival as well, which was spectacular. It was an evening event, and people were able to be in their designated parking spot, and there was a great way that the community was able to celebrate love. And so we're seeing that happen, and also we're doing that with movies. So this drive-in theater, the family actually received yesterday an award from our Tourism Industry Association for that amazing pivot that they've done with their business. As we move into the, sorry,
No, that's great.
if
That's
I can
awesome.
add in just a second here too as well, as we move into the winter, fall, winter, our tourism PEI is also looking into new segments and exploring new areas of connecting our guests with new experiences. And a lot of these, again, we're seeing trends toward larger percentages of outdoor activities, hiking, and we're going to see more snowshoeing. And also, as we love the leaf peeping in Cape Breton, we're doing that here in Prince Edward Island. And in, I believe, February, I'm looking at doing sort of a Swedish medieval style winter festival. So we'll have some indigenous storytelling, a lot of warm candlelight, and it'll be a really neat meal. So we're looking at some really different ways to connect.
Well, I'm glad I'm not too far away, and I'm glad I'm in your bubble. So sign me up for that.
Yes.
So I'm still watching. I'm sure there's some questions out there. Maybe we just have some shy people, but tell me about your favorite island ingredient that you like to cook with, and how do you like to prepare it?
Oh my gosh, that is such a loaded question. I don't know. I think one thing for sure, whatever ingredient I go with, putting on our island butter, our dairy, slap that on there, it's a good thing. Our shellfish, of course, is unparalleled, but I think what is wonderful is our agricultural bounty as well. Our beef is some of the best in the country, arguably. And we can see that being sold in Toronto at McEwen's and other fine butcher shops as well. It's hard to say no to delicious ribeye. But we also have an amazing plant-based industry that's growing here. Jelaine Molnar, who owns and is the creator of Fromage, which is like this dairy-free plant-based cheese product. It's incredible. She ferments cashews with the same type of bacteria that we would use to make cheese. And I'm telling you, that stuff is pretty incredible. And I think they've just started selling in Toronto. So there's a lot of good stuff here.
That is fantastic. My daughter's vegan, so I've been introduced to a whole new world. I'm still not there. I'm still not there yet, but I'm loving what she's introducing me to.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions? Anybody who want to turn on their camera and ask Chef Alono? You've got a chef here in front of you. You might be doing some menu planning right now. Now's the time to pick her brain on what that menu should look like for next year.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking at doing a lot of interesting stuff at the Culinary Institute of Canada as well. We're reimagining how we're doing food service. We have had, we always have guests in our community coming in for dinners. So now we're looking at doing hub dining as well at the culinary, online ordering. So, what do people want? And we're really paying close attention to those kind of comfort foods.
Yeah. I love that idea of picnics. I think you're going to see more of that as group business comes back, and giving people, it's a great way to expand some leisure time, but to give them a basket that's full of local ingredients to go out and explore and still have a great dining experience, but yet a little more leisure time that you're able to add to an incentive program.
Absolutely. Yes, we've seen we've had the Canadian Soccer Association. They came in to do their season, their tournament, and what was really incredible was how the Delta Hotel looked after their food service. They had wonderful social distancing and safety measures in place. Every team had their own floor. Everyone was wearing masks. But also, what came when they did the food service component, they actually had baskets. So kind of make your own. So they had to make pasta. So they had the cooked pasta, protein, and those sort of pieces. And the teams were able to prepare their own meal as they liked. They're also able to do barbecues, which worked out really, really well and gave people that sense of a little bit more comfort. Yeah.
That's great. Well, I don't see any last questions. So on behalf of Say Canada, thank you for participating and sharing with us today. It was very insightful. And for those of you joining us, if you want to head on back to the main stage now, the content keeps on rolling. So thanks everyone. And thank you, Chef, for joining us.
Thank you. Take care from PEI. Big love, guys.